Hello Wargamers and welcome to Let's Get Critical. My name is Gar. In this video we'll be tackling the Plague Marines kill team. It's the same kill team that came in the 3rd edition starter set for kill team. The emphasis for these videos is so we can get the kill teams ready for the battle reports that we'll be featuring on this channel. We hope that these videos help you to get your own miniatures ready, and we hope they work as a guide to assist you in learning how to do things properly. But for now, let's get painting. The first colour I'll be using is a base colour from Citadel called Death Guard Green, and the brush I'll be using is a hobby brush. It's got large bristles and it's great for priming. Whether you use spray paint or a brush, it's entirely up to you, but I prefer a brush, and the way it works is you load the brush with some of the paint you want to use. This is why it's good to use a big brush, and you just slap it on the miniature. And the trick here is, I've said it before in lots of videos, is just keep the paint moving round and round and round. Don't let it stay still, and just spread the paint all over the miniature. This miniature took 2 coats. This is me doing the first coat. I think here you actually move on to the second coat, but it's hard to tell because it's obviously all green. And I forgot to take a picture at the end to do a showcase, but as you can see, it's a really simple process. So I just moved on to the next colour, which is Ogren Camo, and I used a medium dry brush from Citadel. What I did now was to apply a dry brush over the primed miniature using the Ogren Camo, and if anybody has done dry brushing before, that's great. If not, then you can hopefully see from the video that the trick to it is loading some paint onto the bristles of the brush and then wiping most of it off onto a piece of tissue paper, so you end up with a large brush with large bristles with very little paint on there. And then you just gently flick it over the model. You just want to target the areas in which you want to dry brush. Here I'm generally trying to target just the power armor, but as you can see, you know, it is practically all the model. I'm missing out the cape and a few of the other bits, but you just want to keep flicking the brush over and very gently building up that other color so you have like a two-tone effect. And here's a lovely showcase showing the final product of a prime and a dry brush with the Ogren Green. When you apply the shades later on towards the end of the video, you'll see, you know, how it has such a good effect. But for now it's done, and we can get on to adding the detail. The first detailing I want to do is with Bolsafar Gold, and I'm using the character brush from the Army Painter. I'm using these metallic paints, but before I do, I want to show you this new servo palette I got from Citadel. What I'm doing here is I'm getting some of the Bolsafar Gold straight out of the pot, and I'm using an old brush to do so, and I'm just filling it with, you know, several drops of the paint straight from the pot. And then once I've got enough paint in there, I think this is the last drop, what I'll do now is I'll go straight to the water pot, and then I'll just dip the brush straight in and then add water to the mixture. I'm doing this to make a really runny and really easy to paint fluid mixture, and I just wanted to show you this because this is the best way to paint with metallics. Metallics are really quite thick out the pot, especially the Citadel ones, so by doing this you have a paint that's so much easier to work with. And you can see here how easily the paint goes on. I'm just, you know, super easily just applying it to the pauldrons, and it just literally goes on like it was milk, like it was water. It does reduce the opacity, and quite often you'll have to do a couple of coats, but you know, the ease of application and the lovely effect, you know, it does it's so worth it. If you are going to paint regularly, you do need to get yourself some form of palette, and this Citadel palette is really, really good. After I'd done the shoulder pauldrons, I moved on to the mask on his face. I did both sides of that, and then I just did the adjoining piece of metal up to the spike, and I finished off painting the spike. And this was about all the Bolsafar Gold. I didn't want to do all the armor, I didn't really have the time, I just wanted to do enough to set the model off and make it look good. The next metallic I used was a base paint from Citadel called Lead Belcher, and again I used the character brush, which is a very, very good detailing brush from the Army Painter. I did the same with the Lead Belcher. I used the servo palette, the Citadel palette, and I filled it with some paint fluid, and then I added water till it was a nice wet mixture, and I started to apply it to the model. You can probably see how opaque it is. So, you know, this one definitely needed 2 coats. I did the pipe work on his shoulder, and then I moved on to the sword, a lovely jagged sword in his hand. I think it's a fantastic weapon. It looks really, really fantasy, a sorcerer's sword. And then I moved on to the plasma pistol. You really see here how opaque the paint is. Look, you know, you can see lots of the green, so definitely took 2 coats. I then went round the back of the miniature to finish off, and I worked on the pipe work there. The lead belcher is great. I'm going to add some shades to it later, and you'll see, you know, when you're adding the Agrax Earthshade, I still think lead belcher is the best metallic paint to go with Agrax. But after I'd done all the piping and the weapons, it was more or less done, and here's a showcase coming up with both the metals. Balsafar gold on the rim and the helmet, and then lead belcher on the weapons and the pipework. It's really starting to come together now. The next colour I chose was a Citadel base colour called Caliban Green, and again I'm using the character brush from the Army Painter. A lot of people, when they paint Death Guard or Plague Marines, go for a purple colour. You can see it on like a lot of Mortarion artwork, but I decided to go for this rich green. I did actually try some of the purple, but decided to go back over it with the Death Guard green, and I just stuck with the Caliban Green. I just preferred it. I didn't like the look of it. The cape was very easy really to paint. The back of it was super simple. There was a couple of bits around the chain and then onto the front. The good thing I like about the character brush from the Army Painter, as you can see here, is it's big enough to take on the, you know, the big things at the back, but it's also got such a fine little nib that you can take on some detail work at the front. It's a fantastic brush, and the Caliban Green is a great colour. I think it works so much better than the Phoenician Purple I was going to use. And that's it. The colours are starting to come together now, and here's a showcase. He's really, really looking good now. Great stuff. This is the first Death Guard I've ever painted, and I'm really enjoying it. Having lots of fun. The next colour I'm using is a Citadel colour called Rhinox Hide, and again I'm using the character brush. I want to start adding some detail now, and there's some pipe work on here that I thought I'd just paint brown. There's a little pipe here down on his legs which I gave a flick of paint. If you don't use enough colours on these miniatures, I think, you know, that you're wasting it really, and there's another bit of pipe work on this side. I decided to add some Rhinox Hide onto here as well. And then finally, round the back, there's a pipe connecting his backpack to this exhaust pipe, so that got a coat of Rhinox Hide as well, and that was it. It's just those tiny little details. I thought about using several other colours, but I thought I'll keep it simple, not too simple. And there's a showcase showing them off. All the little bits matter, but I don't want to go crazy adding every colour on the palette. In the next section of the video, I'll be using a Citadel colour called Wraithbone, and one of my favourite brushes, it's the Kalinsky Masterclass. I'm using Wraithbone to pick out the teeth on this amazing chest piece of his. I don't know if you can see it there, but he's got like a gawping mouth, and you can just see these big pointy gnashes. The Kalinsky Masterclass brush is a great brush. Many of the brushes in the Army range, the Army Painter range, are fantastic, but this is probably one of my favourites. I personally prefer it to the Citadel Artificer brush, myself personally, and they're only about £11, which is about half the cost. It's got a fantastic tip on it, and it holds paint really well. And I'm just slowly adding some of this Wraithbone. It's a very similar to a white paint in that it's a bit bitty, and again you need to add some water to thin it down. But once you've got the hang of it, just really gently and really slowly, just picking out those teeth. I like the fact that the nib on the Kalensky Masterclass is quite long as well. The Artificer, the nib is nowhere near as long. It's not even about half the size of it. Fantastic details on this model, and there's a showcase with the teeth painted in there. Really, really grotesque. I love it. The next paint is a layer paint by Citadel called Pallid Witch Flesh, and I'm again using the Kalensky Masterclass. What I want to do now is just start adding another base coat. When you prime and dry brush the model, some of the parts, aren't the colour that you want. So I decided to pick out this Nurgling on the top of the pipes and the exhausts, and I just wanted to give it a nice white colour. So I chose the Pallid Witch Flesh as the colour, and I just gave the Nurgling another essentially base coat, so when I apply shades to it and colours to it later, they'll start to show up better than if it was green. And this is the end of the detailing on the model, and next it's time to move on to the shades. One of the first shades I'll be using is Agrak's Earth Shade, and I'll be using an old Army Painter Regiment brush. As you can probably see, the bristles are very, very worn. It doesn't keep a point much nowadays. But I'm using this Agrak's Earth Shade, and I'm using it to go over all the metallics that I've painted, and also the green cape. I don't want to go over the armour, and I'm not going over other pieces as well. I'm just concentrating on all the things that I painted, Lead Belcher and essentially Caliban Green as well. Like I said earlier in the video, the Agrak's Earth Shade over Lead Belcher is probably one of the best combinations I think you can get in the Citadel range. It really leaves a very dirty and a very tarnished look on that metallic paint, and it looks fantastic. It really looks old and aged, and I love this sword as well, the Sorcerer's kind of jagged edge. And then round to the back, I concentrated on the chains and the little metal, the little containers, the pox containers, and then after doing the cape, I moved to the top and also the pipework as well, the brown pipework. And unfortunately, for some reason, I stopped. I must have lost the showcases I did for these, so I have to do all the shades and then show you what it will look like at the end. But this is the final piece for the Lead Belcher before we move on. The next shade is Reichland Flesh Shade from Citadel. And what I want to use this for is it's a lovely blood red colour, and I want to leave it in the recesses of this teeth. This gawping mouth on his chest piece I think is one of the best parts to this model. It's an absolutely fantastically detailed sculpt, and it's just this gruesome set of teeth. I decided to use the Reichland Flesh Shade and just to pull it in there till it's nice and thick, and then let it dry before I carried on shading. And it just really darkens and really makes that mouth look grotesque. I think it's fantastic. I think later on in a video I'll add some blood in there with the blood for the Blood God technical paint, but for now I don't have any available because I used it all up before, so I just have to get the flesh shade in there, let it go dry, and add that at a later date. It looks fantastic, I love it. The next shade I'll be using is Seraphim Sepia. I'm using this very quickly just to go over the Balsafar Gold that we did on the trims and on the helmet. It's really, really quick. I've decided to use lots of different shades on this model, and there's 4 shades I'm using: the Agrak's Earth Shade, there's the Reichland Flesh Shade, the Seraphim Sepia, and then finally I've got the last one coming up soon, which is the Euphonian Camo Shade. And I don't know why. Normally I don't use this many shades. I just decided to give everyone its own unique colour. And finally I did go over this Nurgling on the top as well. I am going to use another colour on it in a few moments, but I just decided to get some of the shade on there just to darken some of the recesses before I paint it in one of the final steps coming up soon. The final shade I'm using is a Euphonian Camo Shade, like I've just said, and this is a lovely colour. One of the things I was disappointed with was the Death Guard Green and the Nurgling Green didn't quite have the effect I was looking for, but when you apply this Euphonian Camo Shade over it, it goes a really, really sickly green colour, and it seeps into the recesses and looks a little bit like slime. You know, it is a really nice colour, but I wanted the difference between the Death Guard green and the Ogryn camo to just be a bit more, you know, intense, but they're just two very much alike. And then after I'd done the power armor, I moved on to the base, just to give it a really slimy, greasy, poxy and dirty look. And finally, I just did the end of the base there. I mean, this is the end of the shading. Again, I didn't take many showcases, you know, to show you, so I'm just going to have to go through them one by one. And now we're going to get down to the, you know, the final piece, or the final pieces. And this one here is the technical paint called Nurglings Rot. It's like a vomit. I'm using a cheap synthetic brush. I got these for about £5 for 10 of them. I like to use these synthetic brushes with the technical paints because they destroy your better brushes, but I'm just using this Nurgle Rot on the Nurgling, which is on top of the, you know, on the backpack. It's like a snot colour. It's a lovely colour. It's a grimy, vomity, snotty colour. I think it's just perfect for these Nurglings. It took a couple of coats, but this is just me putting down the first coat. And final colour I'm using is the technical Sterling Mud Paint. I used this to go around the base. I didn't really want to paint it. It's so much easier using a technical paint. Afterwards, I just went round the rim of the base with some Abaddon Black. And then finally at the end, I managed to take a final showcase so I can show you the complete model. This has been the first Death Guard model I've painted, and what I want to do next is leave you with a presentation. It's like an outro clip, and it will show you the rest of the Death Guard kill team. I've had a fantastic time painting this model. My name is Gar. This is Let's Get Critical. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.